Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Kenzie's Krimes.
Milwaukee police found body parts in a North Side apartment.
Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
This is evil, what those people had done to me.
She says Heaven's Gate awaiting.
I'm not guilty.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Time for Kenzie's Krimes. And throughout October, doing spooky, dramatic, murder, haunted places. And what do we got next, Kenzie?
I want to dive into the Drake Hotel.
I didn't know it was haunted.
Yes, a lot of people know Congress Plaza as being haunted, and I feel like a lot of people know those stories.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to dive into the Drake. Obviously very popular, but maybe a little less known. Like, I mean, you're a Chicago boy, and you didn't know about this, right?
I guess every building that's been around long enough eventually is it's haunted.
It's got to be haunted.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Something went down. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Drake Hotel has obviously been a staple of Chicago's skyline for over 100 years now, bringing with it a rich history of events and world-renowned guests. However, the long history has also brought with it sadness, devastation, and some guests who may never leave.
Ooh.
It was conceptualized by the famed architect Benjamin Marshall. The Drake Hotel came to fruition when John Drake and Tracy Drake financed the project in 1919. So they're the ones that brought this architect's vision to life. The doors of the Drake Hotel opened on New Year's Eve the following year to 2,000 of Chicago's most distinguished citizens. They had a huge gala and opened it on New Year's Eve.
Wouldn't have been there. They wouldn't have got the invite, I don't think.
You wouldn't have gotten it.
No, it's a shame.
No.
It's a shame I'm not going to be recognized in this lifetime. But that would have been
sorry.
would have been nice to have been there in
When you die,
1919.
everyone's going to care, though.
That's right.
Like everybody else.
Damn it.
The guest list that the Drake has held over the years is far from unimpressive. I mean, Bing Crosby, Walt Disney, Marilyn Monroe, Princess Diana, Aretha Franklin, Frank Sinatra, Winston Churchill, and many, many more. That's just to name a handful of the most famous who has entered those doors. The Drake has definitely brought opulence to Chicago and its guests. However, it's also brought some tragedies. One of the most well-known hauntings at the Drake is named the Lady in Red. A woman wore a striking red gown to a gala at the Drake, which she attended with her fiancé. Later that evening, she couldn't find her fiancé, and she decided to check in their room on the 10th floor, where she found him with another woman.
Oh!
It is said that she was so filled with grief, she threw herself out of the 10th story window.
Oh, man.
To this day, many guests on the 10th floor spot her wandering around. She's also been seen in the ballroom, perhaps still searching for her fiancé.
Whoa, wait. They see a woman in a red dress walking around the hallways and the ballroom?
Yes. And on top of that, there's actually a really famous picture that if you Google it, you can find that a woman went into a ballroom, that ballroom at the Drake, and felt an uneasiness and kind of the cold chill and took a picture. And you can absolutely see a woman sitting in a chair.
Okay, first off, I want to say, no man's worth it, girl. I'm just too bad she did.
Amen. That's what Brian's been hanging out with me. That's what I'm talking about.
It's too bad she did that. But also, are they sure it's not just someone that snuck in the hotel in a red dress?
I don't think it's as realistic as you're imagining.
Okay. It's just
not
kind of
just a guest walking around.
Yeah.
You can, trust me, when you see a ghost, you see a ghost, okay?
That freaks me out.
I know. Also spotted at the Drake is another woman in a dress. This one is known as the Lady in Black. Now, this is a well-documented story about the murder of basically a very popular person in society, Adele Williams. But Adele Williams is not the Lady in Black. Her killer is. So I'm going to pause right there.
Whoa.
And we're going to dive into the murder of Adele and the woman in black that still haunts the Drake.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
It's Brian and Kenzie on Q101 with the conclusion of Kenzie's Krimes. Kenzie left us with a cliffhanger about the Drake Hotel downtown Chicago and all the mysterious, dramatic, and murder things that have happened there.
The Drake, obviously, you've probably seen the big pink neon lights, a staple of our skyline. They held the most famous guests in the world. I mean, Winston Churchill, Walt Disney, Frank Sinatra, Marilyn Monroe. Honestly, a famous person, you name it, they've probably stayed at the Drake.
That's fair.
However, they've had a lot of tragedy, including a woman plummeting to her death after finding her fiancé with another woman. And now let's get into the lady in black, okay? So Adele Williams was the wife of U.S. State Department attaché, had to look that up, Frank Williams, which I guess is like basically kind of being like a diplomat from the government based off my cliffhanger notes. So she was a guest at the hotel along with his daughter, Patricia. On this particular occasion in January 1944, Adele and Patricia were coming back to the suite where Adele lived in the hotel, only to find her door unlocked and slightly ajar when they had left it shut. Slowly opening the door, they didn't see anyone at first. But all of a sudden, a woman wearing a black dress and a black fur coat and a white wig stepped out of the bathroom and took out a pistol. She fired 2 shots at Patricia and missed, but then fired 2 at Adele and killed her. Patricia yelled, "Stop that crazy woman. She shot my mother," as she ran down the hallway in her black fur coat towards the corridor. Police then shut down the hotel and did a 4-hour search of it, but couldn't find anything. Something that they did find was a busted antique pistol that looked like it had fallen from a staircase. To this day, they never were able to find out who did it. Was it a robbery gone wrong? Was it a jealous woman? No one has ever been quite sure. However, ever since the murder, they have seen a woman in a black fur coat walking the 8th floor, as if life itself has punished her. Many believe that maybe that woman never got to leave the building.
Wonder why she was, shooting just random like a gunslinger.
I do think. Oh, here you go with the gunslingers.
This guy
Don't be
can't get enough
jealous
of them.
of the fur coat lady.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of leads on who they think it was, because this is a documented murder. This isn't a ghost story. This is a documented murder. A lot of people believe that they knew where she was staying, they knew she was out, and they were trying to rob her. That's why the door was she was going to sneak in and out, and they showed up probably earlier than she anticipated.
Wow.
And honestly, kind of dressed the part. I believe she dressed all fancy, so I would think anything of her going in and out of a room. So there's something to be left to the imagination. Now, this one chills me to my bones. There's a third reason. There's probably even more, but this is the main third reason why the Drake is haunted.
Yeah.
We've talked about Leopold and Loeb in a previous Kenzie's Crimes.
Oh, yeah.
They were only like 18 years old. They were very young. They were obsessed with committing the perfect crime and getting away with it. They never got away with it, but what they did do is take an innocent 14-year-old boy's life. Do you remember that story? If you don't, you can go back on the Brian and Kenzie podcast. Leopold and Loeb, it's a very, very famous case because it was just people kind of obsessed with committing a crime. There was not necessarily a motive. After the loss of their child, the parents, Jacob Franks and Flora Franks, sold their home in Kenwood, near where their child had been murdered, and moved into the Drake Hotel permanently. They never left. Jacob died there in 1928, and Flora died there years later in 1937. And according to many reports, they have never left. Their ghosts have been seen still mourning the death of their child, and many have heard crying on the floors that they lived.
Honestly, there's so many stories now about the Drake being haunted. Like, I think these ghosts are like bumping into each other in the hallway.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a crowded
It's
hallway.
like a mixer.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big hotel. Yeah, big hotel.
It's a place I haven't stayed. I've driven by it 800 million times. Everybody drives down Chicago. You see that, the pink lights of the Drake. Now I'm just going to think about that, what you just said. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go.
Would it scare you?
Yeah.
Would you ever stay like on the 10th floor or anything, or that would freak you out?
No.
I would give anything for you to stay there, and then somebody give me a key to your room so I could like tug on your sheet in the middle. Could you imagine? You would look like a cartoon, like the shape of your body would be.
Kenzie's Crimes.
Milwaukee police found body parts in a north side apartment.
Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
This is evil, what those people had done to me.
See, says Heaven's Gate awaiting.
I'm not guilty.
Q101.
Well, there's another edition of the Spooktacular Kenzie's Crimes, a haunted place around Chicagoland that will continue through the end of the month, which is next week.
I know.
One more.
If there's any haunted place that you really want me to cover, you can always text us at 312-591-8300 or just message me on any of my socials. So
For sure.
Let me know.
Go do that. Coming up here in 10 minutes, we're going to do Guess the Sound We love this game. We play a piece of audio, and you have to guess what's going on in the sound. And maybe you know it, because a lot of these are pulled for some viral videos that we pull. And we'll do that coming up for Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats tickets at the United Center on Friday, November 1st. We have tickets for that coming up next week from our great friends at Live Nation. So guess the sound in 10 minutes.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.